Wow, that dish looked incredible and looked very easy to make. Up next, we travel to Alcatraz restaurant where Dave samples a southwestern Mexican dish.
Alcatraz Restaurant is a Mexican restaurant located in the Bedford-Stuyvesant section of Brooklyn, New York. Located on Franklin Avenue between Lexington and Green Avenues, it's becoming one of the most popular restaurants in the neighborhood. We got a chance to meet the owners and eat and greet with Chef David Sharp.
I'm a career chef, mostly fine dining. I've been cooking for 30 years professionally. Alcatraz is the first experience I've ever had this small. I wanted to be my own boss, and the way to do that for me at this point is to start out small. So this is very different from my whole career. I've worked for other people in much larger fine dining, sit-down, liquor license type atmosphere. Crispy boneless half chicken with tortilla fettuccine and a salsa made of roasted tomatoes, roast poblanos, and caramelized onions. And because chicken is the most frequently ordered entree meat in restaurants, that's statistical fact, I think it's really important for a good restaurant to have at least one killer chicken entree. And this is a dish that I've done in different variations for many, many years. Even before I started specializing in Mexican cuisine, I did a more continental version of it with classic French flavorings for roast chicken would be tarragon, lemon, and garlic. So I've done it that way, but when I started working mostly in Mexican, I translated those flavors using the same technique with the chicken. So it's going to be marinated in garlic, lime, and cilantro, which are more Mexican kind of flavors. As close to the bone as possible on both sides. Turn it around so you can feel where the wishbone is here. And you want to go down the wishbone, keeping it on the carcass, keeping all the meat together. So what we're going to end up with is a half chicken all in one piece with one piece of skin attached. Because it's boneless, it's going to cook a lot quicker. It can go from raw to the plate in a matter of about 10 minutes. I take the wings off. They don't go on the plate in this dish, but you can collect them and use them for an appetizer. Okay, so now we have most of the chicken off of the bone. Here, I'll just put that aside there to cook later. So now we have the crispy, the boneless half chicken. Turn the pant leg back inside out. And that's what we're going to be working with. It's the half chicken all in one piece with the skin attached, so you can enjoy the dark meat and the breast meat. And again, it's going to allow the marinade flavors to penetrate and allow it to cook much faster than if it had the bone.
So what made you choose the name of this restaurant?
Well, my partner and I have lived in Bed-Stuy for about 6 years, and my observation was that I've become sort of a specialist in Mexican and Southwestern cuisine since moving to New York in 2001. And that is what I enjoy doing the most, what I feel I have the most talent to offer. And in our neighborhood there are plenty of fast food, takeout Chinese places, fried chicken, pizza, but there's no Mexican or Southwestern. So you have to go to Park Slope or Myrtle or Fort Greene. And so we really wanted to do that, to offer what I do best more locally in the neighborhood. So that's why we opened Alcatraz in Bed-Stuy. Okay, the sauce for this dish is made of roasted tomatoes, roasted poblano chilies, and caramelized onions. So there are recipes within the recipe that we don't really have time to detail, but I'll give you like a little overview of how we arrive at these products that are going to go in the sauce. The tomatoes, I just take Roma tomatoes, cut them in half, and lay them out on a sheet pan. Season them with a little salt and cracked black pepper, a little olive oil, and this is the finished product. They're almost like sun-dried tomatoes, but they're still soft. They have some moisture. But you have to have a very slow oven or they're going to get black and burn, and it takes a long, long time. It's almost like oven drying them, even though I'm calling them roasted. And what that does, through the evaporation, it concentrates and intensifies the flavors of the tomato. And it takes about 5 or 6 hours at 225 degrees to achieve this result. So that's what they look like when they're finished. They're julienne to go in the sauce. Roasted poblano chilies. This is a poblano chili. And these are roasted on the open fire so you can scrape the peel off. Pretty basic technique used in a lot of Latin and Mediterranean cooking. Fire roasting and peeling peppers. So then they're julienne. So that's what that turns into. The poblano chilies, the dried form, is also called ancho chilies, which is very commonly used in all Mexican cuisine. And then the third component of the salsa is caramelized onions. And they are julienne and cooked over a high heat until they all turn brown and start releasing the sugars. Okay, this is a dried version of the poblano chili. And this is what a lot of Mexican restaurants use in recipes for chili powder and flavorings. It's the same as this, only in the dried version.
What are your store hours?
We are open at noon till 11, closed on Mondays. On Fridays and Saturdays we're open till midnight. We marinate it. You see the garlic and the cilantro and the effects of the lime juice penetrating the meat. The first thing you want to do is put a pan on high heat. You want very high heat in order to make the skin crispy. So we're just going to let that pan get screaming hot for now. Meanwhile, it's important to wipe off and dry the skin, because you can't really get a nice crispy skin if the skin is wet. So we're wiping off this excess marinade to make the skin crispier when it hits the hot pan. So that'll be nice and dry when it's ready to hit the hot pan. You also need to have your oven turned up high. I have it at 450 to finish roasting in the oven once you get the skin started to crisp. The other component on the plate is the starch side dish portion of the entree. And this is what really seems to intrigue people quite a bit. These are basic 6-inch flour tortillas. And this dish actually has a name. It's a thing in Mexican cuisine. They call it sopa seca de tortilla, which means dry tortilla soup, sopa seca. It's more frequently made with corn tortillas, which I started doing years ago, and people really enjoy it. But then when I started experimenting and doing it with flour tortillas, the result seemed to remind people so much of pasta, fettucine, when it turns out, that I actually changed the name of it on the menu, and I'm calling it tortilla fettuccine in quotes. People have a lot of fun with it because they, even though it's made with flour tortillas, they swear it's pasta, because that's the effect. Also, it comes out more like pasta because the corn tortillas, they soak up more of the chicken stock, which is used to moisten it and soften it, and they become more crumbly. The flour tortillas, however, if you don't use too much, they don't actually fall apart. So they do look like pasta noodles. So you want to cut them about 1/4 of an inch, as if it was fettuccine. Fluff them up to separate them a little. You don't want them to stick together. Okay, I think the pan's ready for the chicken now. One little oil. This happens to be soy oil, but you can use just about anything. And you want to maintain the integrity of the half chicken. So you want to carefully turn it over so you're putting the skin side down, but you want to expose as much skin to the surface as possible and keep its shape so it looks nice when it's finished and comes to the plate. So I'm just going to turn this over. Be careful not to splatter yourself. And that's going to go straight into the hot oven. And it's going to cook mostly on the skin side, so the skin becomes crispy. But about 3 or 4 minutes before I'm ready to plate, I'm going to turn it over to finish cooking on the other side and dry out the top crispy skin side. Meanwhile, while that's in the oven, you can get started on the tortilla fettuccine. And I'm using diced white onions, a little bit of garlic. Okay, so we're going to saute a little bit of white onion. And because the garlic cooks a lot faster than the onion, you want to get the onion started first, put the garlic in later. If garlic gets too hot and browns, then it has a bitter kind of off-putting flavor, and you want to avoid that. So you want to wait a little while to put your garlic in a little later after the onions start to cook. Okay, we can hear some action on the onions, so I'm going to get the garlic going. It's going to continue to cook, but it's like about halfway translucent at this point. We're going to put the tortillas in there. Let them get some of that flavor. Okay. So we have the tortilla strips, the fettuccine with the onions and garlic. We're going to add about 3 ounces per order of chicken stock. You don't want so much that it's going to make it soggy and fall apart. You just want enough that it will absorb the liquid without and still maintain its shape and integrity. And at this point we're going to put the cheese in. This is a blend of Chihuahua and Oaxaca cheese, which are both Mexican cheeses. Chihuahua is kind of mild and creamy and nutty, similar to Monterey Jack. The Oaxaca is very similar to string mozzarella cheese. So we got some different cheese flavors. This one is a dry, hard Mexican cheese, grated fine. It's very similar to Parmesan, but milder, and it's called cotija. So we're going to add a little bit of chopped cilantro and a little bit of butter to sort of finish the sauce here. And you want to toss that, incorporate it a little bit. And once you get that started, then you want to make salsa. So we're going to take the tomatoes that we prepared earlier, the strips of the fire roasted poblano chilies, and the caramelized onions. Basically equal portions. You want to let them mingle and combine their flavors. And to make it into a sauce, we're going to add the chicken stock. And we'll let that heat up while the chicken's cooking. Okay, we want to let the sauce reduce a little bit so it becomes more like a sauce. It needs another minute or so. Meanwhile, here's our tortilla fettuccine, all cheesy and buttery and garlicky. And we can put that on the plate toward the back half. We're going to finish the salsa by mounting butter into it, which enriches and thickens the sauce. That went through a clear broth, and the butter thickened it and made it rich and velvety. So we're going to spread that around the rest of the plate. And finally, here's the crispy boneless half chicken. We just set it on the plate. So there's the finished dish. And I usually throw a little chopped cilantro around just to remind people of the flavors that are cooked into the chicken and makes it look a little more festive.
And now the best part of the show. Now with the salsa. Salsa's good. Nice little spice to it. Yeah, that does just. It does kind of seem like it's pasta.
It is like pasta, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it
I
is,
swear it's
yeah.
pasta.
For real, if I wanted to see them make it, I would have exactly thought that's what it was.
Of course, your chicken's good too. The whole meal, excellent.
So it tastes and it feels just like pasta. I never thought it was a tortilla.
And because people enjoy it so much and it reminds them of pasta, it inspires me to do specials where I use the tortillas but do them in ways people are familiar with pasta, like maybe a tortilla Alfredo or a tortilla carbonara. So you may see some kind of fusion kind of specials like that here at Alcatraz.
Listen,
Late things day and a chance.
yo.